Hello, welcome to another episode of Swapping Joysticks. And yes, we have a brand new camera. Well, not brand new camera, it's the same camera, but we've got a new look because we've got such a fancy Kallax behind us. We thought we may as well keep it on. And also, it's a little bit easier than faffing around with two cameras and moving them around. I'm your host, Ben Ostwick, otherwise known as Biggest Bennis. And joining me, as always, it's Little Ed. How are you doing, Little Ed?
Little Ed?
Well, I saw that I've still got
How
some.
dare.
I saw on my prompter over there, it still says Tiny Terry's Turbo Trip. And I was going to call you Tiny Ed, or Tiny Terry.
Yeah, let's not do that.
No, you're
Thanks.
not that small.
No, you're just a giant.
Thank you. Yes, but that's but yeah, this is Swapping Joysticks, where we talk about everything video games that we've been playing, what you've been playing, and also what's happening in the gaming news at the moment. And what I've been playing and what's been in the news. I mean, we're going to be talking a lot about Concord. You're going to be talking about well, we're both going to be talking about Dawn Trail. Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail, as we've both finished it.
We have both finished Dawn Trail. And I have also been playing some Star Wars Outlaws, which came out this week. So yeah, like last week was our big Gamescom special. And I feel like we played loads of things. We talked about loads of things. But now we are catching up on stuff that we've been playing outside of work.
Because last time, I think the podcast was about 3 hours, and that was just stuff we'd played at Gamescom. So I'm like, okay. Yeah, whatever we've played since then, we should probably talk about it now.
Now we need to catch up. I mean, Dawn Trail, we both finished, like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I've forgotten about it.
I've also forgotten about it, but we will get to it.
Yeah.
How's your week been first? How's things?
How's things? My week's been fine. Just a lot of work. Stream It Beat It started at work, so we're fundraising for the...
This is your plug time.
Well, no, because work's work. This is not work. Looking at it, I'm trying to remember what there is. Well, we had a bank holiday. I don't remember too much about it. No.
To be honest, we were mainly playing video games because August was very busy. Gamescom was very busy. So September is a nice chance to just sit and relax and play some games. And there are some incredible games coming out this month.
There are, yes, very soon as well.
Yes, I am very excited to play the new Zelda.
I thought so.
Previews are out this week.
Were they good?
They were very positive.
Okay, good.
So I'm very excited for that. There's the Plucky Squire, which we're going to play together. Yeah,
that's going to be our next playthrough because we are celebrating our playthrough of Thank Goodness You're Here that went up on YouTube after we streamed it. Has had over 100,000 views.
Which is wild. That 100,000 people want to watch us two idiots playing a silly game about Northerners.
And a lot of
it's great.
Yeah, because it pops up with all the statistics, and like the average duration is like decent. It's not like just lots of people. So the thing is, like we've got 150,000 views on quite a lot of the Ben Star, Thirsty Tweets,
of course, understandable
TikToks, but they're like a minute. Whereas this is a 3-hour game that we've spoken about, that we've just talked over, and constantly getting comments. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. If anybody's watching this and they've found us from that video. Or maybe the Sonic video as well, where my terrible gameplay that's been doing quite well as well.
I'll teach you, don't worry.
Yeah, I think that's going to be another game that we play. I think that's going to be, they're going to be like two, Plucky Squire and that in the future. But if you did come from the Thank Goodness You're Here, then thank goodness you're here. Yeah. Because we're going to talk about video games. We're not going to talk about that one. We've spoken about it plenty and we love it. And we'll save that for the Game of the Year podcast at the end. But I think Sonic, we should definitely, in fact, I promised people in the comments that we'd have a joint playthrough or whatever where you show me a level, then I have to do it.
Oh,
so maybe you should set me a time that I have to get.
Like I'm the ghost.
No, I'm not going to try and beat you because that's not going to happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not like the greatest Sonic player in the world.
No,
that's
only one person, so obviously not.
Well, no, but I'm, I do all right.
Good.
I do all right. Also this week is Astrobot coming out, which is another one that I'm really excited about. So
when are reviews out?
Very soon, I think. Maybe even by the time this is out for people.
Oh yeah, I mean, because this game, in fact, this goes up on Friday and Friday's release day. So yeah, Astrobot is out.
Yes, there we go.
Right now, if you listen to this.
So yeah, between Astrobot, Plucky Squire, and Zelda, I'm like, that's 3 of my most wanted games.
All this month. Yeah.
Which is wild. And
when's the new Call of Duty out?
Oh, who cares?
In fact, actually, we should just have a look at what some people do care, Red. Other people have tastes. Different tastes to you.
Bad taste.
Gaming in 2024. It's nearly 2025, isn't it? It's almost Christmas.
Don't say that, Ben.
Let's have a look. What's the month? September. Right.
Somehow.
Yeah, how the hell did that happen? Casting of Frank Stone just came out. Oh, that Quidditch game came out, apparently.
Yeah, no.
I thought that I get like the odd thing from Warner Brothers talking about it. I'm like, oh, that's probably months away, but apparently not. And I've not heard a single.
Very quickly after its announcement.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about it. Prison Architect 2, I thought that got delayed.
It did.
So I don't know why that's still there. Oh yeah, Age of Mythology Retold, that got released like a few days ago. Oh, today actually, isn't it? The Age of Mythology. You know, the Age of Empires people.
If you say so.
The Age of Empires 2 people went to make a game for Xbox.
Oh.
And it's a biggish game.
Oh.
I'll play on Game Pass.
Maybe Xbox should market that.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it. That's why I knew it was out. Should just pay more attention.
I should.
Oh, fitness boxing featuring Hatsune Miku. Yeah, you're gonna get that. The Ace Attorney Investigations Collection. Obviously, Astrobot. NBA 2K25 is on Friday as well, the same day. I've heard that it's a lot. Well, people that love NBA games say that there are things in it that make it a lot better than previous ones. I'm not sure what. Oh, the Space Marine 2 coming out.
Yes, that's had very good reviews.
Yes, I've heard.
I'm not really a Warhammer guy though.
No. Satisfactory's coming to Windows. Apparently it was because it's on Steam now.
It was an early access.
Oh, was it? I thought it was an Epic exclusive.
Or maybe it was.
Maybe it's both. I don't know. Crossy Road Castle. Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince on Windows, iOS, and Android. Interesting.
Sure.
Death Sprint 66.
Is that out this month?
Yeah, it's out on the 12th. It's out in like...
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think, hopefully, we'll get a code and we'll do a little quick look of it because
that'll be fun.
Very cool. Marvel versus... no, I thought it was going to be Marvel. Not Snap. Rivals, no. Pico Park 2. Demon School.
That's been delayed.
They need to update Wikipedia. I can't believe Wikipedia's got things wrong.
I can't believe you're using Wikipedia for a release.
It's a good... Yeah, I don't go on any other websites. Core Keeper, which I think just came out, actually. I don't know why it says... Oh, that's on Switch. I think it's on consoles. Final Fantasy 16 on Windows the same day as well. Plucky Squire the same day. Jedi Survivor on Xbox and PS4 comes out then for some reason.
Yeah, it's like last gen consoles.
Yeah. And Train Sim World 5, all on the same day. And then there's Broken... I'm not even halfway through. We are halfway through now. Broken Sword. It says UFO 50. I thought it said UFC 50, but I don't know what that is. Broken Sword, Shadow of the Templars Reforged, which we want to play, I know. God of War on Windows. Frostpunk 2. God, that's out on the 20th.
Is it?
Apparently so.
I thought that was delayed as well.
Probably is. It's just not been updated. Ara, History Untold on Windows. So these might not be. Yeah, Legend of Zelda. Worms Armageddon Anniversary Edition. Oh, EA Sports FC, the not FIFA 25s on the 27th, which I'll play a little bit. And then on the 30th, to finish it off, Starfield Shattered Space expansion.
Anyway, Plucky Squire, Astrobot, and Zelda are the main three that you need to know.
Apparently still, Frostpunk 2 on their own Wikipedia thing comes up as September the 20th as well, so I don't know.
There we go then. There we go. Well, before those will come out, let's play about what... Let's play about?
Let's not play about, not on camera.
What we've been playing. And maybe we should start with what you've been playing briefly.
Yeah.
Which is Concord, because that has been the big news of the week as well. So if you are unaware, which I think a lot of people are, because Sony haven't done a lot of marketing, a little game called Concord came out last week? 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. It was 2 weeks
ago. Which is Sony's latest live service shooter, which you will tell us a bit more about how it plays and what it is. But a couple of days ago, Sony took it down, or at least are taking it off sale because it's not done very well. And for a live service game, for it to last, you need some players. And it turns out there aren't really very many players around, which is maybe a shame because it sounds like it's actually all right. Yeah.
The more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm like, I'm not sure. Oh. And so it is I think 5v5, not 6v6. It's a 5v5 hero shooter a la Overwatch. And yeah, you select one of, I believe, like 16 heroes, and they've got special abilities, and they've got like a primary weapon that's different for each one. And pretty much, well, there were two modes I remember playing. One of them was like I think they do it in Call of Duty, or I played it in other games where you kill your opponent and you have to take their like dog tag type thing, or you collect
Right,
their their death. So in other words, you can't really snipe them from one side of the map to the other because you have to go and collect their trophy or whatever it was.
So it's not just a death match then.
No, but they do also have like a deathmatch one as well. So yeah, I was playing though. Yeah, that's what it is really, and it's very much what you would expect. It opens with like a really fancy cinematic, and apparently that was the thing that they were doing. Like every week there was a brand new cinematic. So yeah, that was very, very fancy with all these characters.
That was meant to introduce the heroes, maybe.
Possibly. Yeah. So the problem is the problem that a lot of people are focusing on this is that it's £40 or $40. I'm not sure how many pounds. Is it £40?
I think it's 40 quid.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this game does not do anything better than the games that are free to play that offer it. So there's Overwatch out there that does great gameplay, great abilities. It does all of this. And that's free to play. Same with like Apex. Apex is a battle royale, but I believe that they now do team deathmatch and things like this. I'm not sure. I need to go and try this out because I was told this today. Yeah, I was told this today, and I'm like, oh really? I might go and play it because I loved playing Apex. But yeah, the thing is, the £40 barrier will have stopped many, many, many people from playing it because they're not going to pay £40 for a game. But also, there's nothing enticing them to to pay that money and to play it because the game's bland. Like, it is bland. The characters are really just generic. They're like, hey, here is go and randomize a Sims character with these few wacky outfits, and then we'll make that a hero.
Who did you play as?
Oh god, you're gonna test me. I can't remember the name.
I don't know
it.
the names, but just describe them.
So my character that I played a lot, I think it was like Terra or somebody like that, or I don't know. It had four letters, whoever they were, and I played like 12 games with her, and it was very much like Farah if you played Overwatch. So she jumped in the air. She had like a triple jump, and then she also had a button where she could kind of hover. So I think Farah has one where she can like boost in the air, whereas this one kind of hovered. So you'd hover, which the people that I was playing against weren't incredibly skilled, so they didn't think, hey, that person's just hovering in the air, standing still, so I could probably shoot them and kill them immediately. So that didn't really happen, which was quite lucky. So one of my skills was like to hover, and then the other one was to kind of like slam down. But the slam down was not very powerful, so I'd slam down, and then it would take like a quarter of someone's health. I'm like, great, I need to have my weapon fully reloaded because if I'm going to kill them, I've got to do follow-up shots and stuff. So yeah, I did that, and it was, yeah, like that's the thing. Their abilities are just not very exciting. There was another one I was playing, and one of her two abilities that you've got just like boosts you up in the air quite quickly. And I'm like, that's not very exciting.
No.
And there was another guy, like the typical, I think he's like the Soldier 76 of this game. And his weapon was he threw a smoke grenade. And if you look down the sights of your gun, you can kind of see down the gun, but also it's zoomed in quite a lot. So you're not really sure where you're looking. And by the time you've done it, there's somebody behind you. And like that didn't particularly work. So the abilities were not very exciting to use. I mean, yeah, the guy who plays, the one that throws the grenade, his other ability is just like 3 grenades that he shows. So there's a smoke grenade and then 3 like blasting grenades, and you have to wait for them to kind of come back. So it was just a little bit like boring, and just not very exciting. And yeah, the characters are just completely forgettable. The one that I was playing with for a bit had like green or like turquoise, if I can remember rightly, turquoise rubber gloves, and then like a large beige jacket, and like had ski goggles. And I'm like,
sure.
If you're gonna be a hero shooter, if you're gonna be a game that's like around these 16 heroes, which I still think is a little bit too many to start with. I think you add some, then give them lots of backstory, lots of character, and then you add new ones so people are excited, like they do in Apex. But you look at them, and when it comes to Apex, I'm going to go to again, or Overwatch, or something else that's kind of a hero. You look at them and you know what they're about. You see Mirage, you're like, oh, he's a really cool guy. He's quite cocky. He likes really slick suits, and I don't know. There's a style that kind of matches the entire person, and they've got personality, and their suits kind of match it, or their skins in that case. Whereas all of these, I was just looking, I'm like, they're just. It's like you've gone on The Sims, randomized everything about the person, and then randomized all their clothes, and they've gone, hey, this is a hero. I'm like, oh. And every now and again, there's one person that's incredibly stylish, got like these really cute glasses and cool hair, but then nothing kind of, nothing right matches with their what they do, doesn't really complement their style or their character. It needs really working from the ground up, I think, when it comes to, and that's why I'm not now 100% sure if it will come back.
So I don't really play these kinds of shooters. I've played a very small amount of Overwatch 1 years ago. I think there was like a trial weekend.
Great.
And I enjoyed the guy with the bow.
Mm-hmm. I bet.
Hanzo? Hanzo. He was very cool. I just like a bow. So he was cool. But even just from reading video game sites or just being aware of the industry, like, it's very obvious that the main draw of these games and the ones that succeed are the ones with the best characters, because the companies put effort into coming up with interesting characters, whether that is Overwatch, that seem to have very memorable characters. Apex, I know, every time they release one, they've got a movie with it and a backstory, and they're pushing I was going to say pushing diversity. I mean that's a good thing, is that there is a nice diverse range of characters to choose from, and they're very good at representing different cultures.
And is authentic.
And is authentic. And it's clear that is the draw for people. Yes, you want things to play well and shoot well, but who are you playing as? And it feels like Concord just completely missed the mark there.
Yeah. It's like, I feel like if Overwatch, for example, they were like, we want a really cool cowboy, let's go and make a character that's based around that style. Whereas Concord has maybe gone, oh, right, we need somebody that has like listed a few requirements. And like, I appreciate that they've gone for diversity as well, but it feels that though that's kind of been the stats that they've wanted, and then they've just kind of tacked everything on else afterwards, and that's not what people appreciate.
No, you want an authentic character with a backstory that means something, and people can relate to that and think, I like that character because I can see myself in them, or I want to be that person, or whatever.
Like, you can be like, this person I want to create a girl. She's like just turned 18. She left home. Her parents have been, like ignoring her all her life, so she's now exploring her independence. And then you can like build a story and a character around that. Whereas these just have, I don't know, they're just beige. And it was quite, a lot of people have been saying like it's really colorful, and I just don't think it is. Like, when you compare it to similar hero shooters, they have a more of a comic-y style, but they're just like, everything is really bright. And you want to play, if you're playing a hero shooter, it's a multiplayer game. It's pretty much always multiplayer. So you want to be able to like have a character or two or three or so that are your own, and you get the skins that you want, so you make them look really cool. It shows all the skins that you could have got. I don't know if there are any secret ones, but it showed all the ones you could have got, and I went through all the ones for the character I was playing. I'm like, they all look really bad. Like, even like the ultimate one at the end, I was like, that's just a blue, purple, and green bit on it instead of the yellow, green, and purple. Like, it's just
different colors.
It was just different colors. It wasn't anything exciting, and yeah, to us playing it just made me want to play more Overwatch and Overwatch and Apex. But like, there are good things about it. So the gunplay itself is very smooth. The traversal running around is a little bit, it feels a bit faster than Overwatch. Feels more kind of Destiny-like, which I love the multiplayer. Okay. So there's a bit more speed, I guess, depending on the character, because some of them are faster, some are slower.
Is that a Bungie input?
Maybe.
Yeah.
But and also like the actual, even if the abilities are a little dull, I kind of had a bit of fun with them because they felt quite satisfying. And like when I was playing, it was like 50-50 whether we won, but it's one of those games where even if you lose, you get loads of things ticked off. So they have like the daily, the weekly, the seasonal quests that you tick off all the time. And it shows you the progress as you're playing the game. So if you're, well, not as you're playing the game, but after the game. So even if you haven't like unlocked something, you'll see the bar go across. And I'm like, oh, just one more match and I can get that. And I get the 25,000 XP. And this one's like, oh, it's 13 out of 16 games played for this week. Or if I just stay for 3 more, I can get that and get this huge XP thing. So they do that. And also I think, I don't know if it's dailies or if it's, I think they call it another name, like, I don't know, like Sync Bounty or just something weird where, or Neo Bounty. I don't know what it's called, but it's I think if you do all the daily quests, or they just kind of replenish constantly. So your daily quest is to kind of finish 3 daily bounties. And I did those very quickly, but then they kind of replenish and replenish. So every time you're doing it, you're like, oh, I might just hold on for one more game because then I can beat that one. And then I get closer to the weekly and the monthly. So that cycle was actually quite fun. And it felt, well, I say fun, it sounds like I'm making it a chore, but you do feel a bit, it's quite cathartic seeing everything tick off and your XP. And I got to level 11, like my operator was well, my profile level was 11. And then as you play with the characters more and more, you level them up as well.
Okay.
And apparently they get stronger and they get better abilities, but I didn't quite pay too much attention to that. But yeah, so it was...
Just to double check, were you playing this on Steam or on PlayStation?
So I played it on PlayStation for a couple of games, and I wasn't really hitting anything. And then I think Andinis in the chat was like, I think you'd be better on Steam. And yeah, just as also disclaimers, PlayStation provided a code when the game launched. So luckily they gave me a code for the PlayStation and the PC version. So I went and switched to the Steam version, had a much better time, and I generally wasn't waiting long for a match. It was about 1 to 2 minutes each time. But like, there's just, it's nothing really exciting about playing it, and it's just a little bland. And if I wanted something that's got great heroes with really and that look fantastic and are very unique and have an interesting backstory and have great diversity, I'll play Apex. If I want something that's a 5v5 shooter that's got great abilities that just feel awesome, like working with other people, I'll play Overwatch. There isn't anything that it brings that's new, that's new, that makes you want to play that over other ones.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem. Like, yeah, it's disappointing. I would say that the leveling up system of the characters and your profile and like the dailies and the weeklies and all that, they're done quite well. And I've not played Overwatch 2, so I don't know if that's also quite good. I've been told that that's all right. And better than Overwatch 1, which just had literally a leveling up thing that every time you leveled up a certain amount, you got a free loot box with stuff in that you didn't want.
Yeah.
So I think Overwatch 2 is better in that regard, and I will give that a go too. But yeah, I just have, if it comes back, it's got like, yeah, I don't know, they just need to revamp pretty much everything in it. But like the game's there, they put a lot of money into it, so surely, it is salvageable. And I don't know, if they were going to completely shut it down, wouldn't they have just like let it kind of linger on for a bit more? The fact that they're stopping it now, and they've had a lot of press. Every single person is talking about Concord. Everybody knows about Concord. People who I was streaming it last night, and people had never heard of it before, except for the news that it was closing. So maybe this news, maybe people do like a bit of an underdog, and in future, if they do decide to bring it back, and hey, look at this, we've got brand new characters. They're all very unique, and they've all got interesting stories. We've got the same guns because they were pretty cool, and we've got some of the abilities. We've maybe added a few extra to make it even more exciting. And also make it free to play, or at least put it behind PlayStation Plus, so anybody with PlayStation Plus can play it. It might do all right. Also, I've got to say, just another little whine, the maps are quite generic as well. They remind me of Destiny 1 maps, where it's kind of wall, corridors, here's a crate that you got to walk through, and there's a door, and I could not for the life of me remember anything about the maps that I played.
Great.
It
sounds
just
like a great game.
Bland.
Well, okay, so let's talk about this news angle for it then. So essentially it came out a couple of weeks ago. It feels to me like Sony haven't really advertised it.
Yeah.
And it's come out at a really awkward time. It's come out between Black Myth Wukong, that has taken the internet by storm, and Star Wars Outlaws, which is Star Wars. And it's come out just before Astrobot. And Astrobot everybody knows about because it's plastered everywhere. It's on buses and advertisements everywhere. Like every website has Astrobot on it. And I don't know if that is because Sony have realized the sentiment behind Astrobot and thought, let's put some money behind that and boost it.
They want it to be their mascot. It's their Mario.
Absolutely. But Concord has not been given the same treatment. And so sitting in the middle of all that, it's no wonder that it's just not getting noticed. And so, yeah, basically the player numbers have been really low. You say like everybody knows about Concord. Well, no, like not enough people are playing it.
Well, now
people know about it because it's a failure, not because they knew about it.
That's
being
what
released.
I said. I said they know about it now that it's been announced that it's failing.
So yeah, it was well earlier this week, let's say, that the PlayStation blog came out. And they're both saying, while many qualities of the experience resonated with players, we also recognize that other aspects of the game and our initial launch didn't land the way we'd intended. Therefore, at this time, we have decided to take the game offline beginning at September the 6th and explore options, including those that will better reach our players. While we determine the best path ahead, Concord sales will cease immediately, and we will begin to offer a full refund for all gamers who have purchased the game for PS5 or PC. So they're talking then about different ways of getting a refund. So they do say they're determine the best path ahead. And you sort of touched on it there. I think putting it on PS Plus is an absolute no-brainer.
Oh God, why? The fact that it's a Sony game that comes up with the Sony intro when you play it, but it's not included in PlayStation Plus. And I know it's not Game Pass, but it's the type of game it is. People expect those. I'm afraid now they expect it. And it's just also I find it weird that in my chat we were all talking about, oh, this would be great with the Battle Pass. Oh, it's a pity it doesn't have it's not free to play with the Battle Pass. Oh, it would be great with one of those. Because sometimes a Battle Pass works. Like, if they're rewarding, then a Battle Pass can feel great, and they keep it fresh because they add new ones when new seasons start. And yeah, you might have to buy them, but if the game's free to enter, and if somebody wants to play it for free without spending a penny, then yeah, that's great for them. But like, people kind of just expect that from that type of game now. We don't. Yeah, I mean, Overwatch 1 was paid. Like, you had to pay for that. But that was like the first of its kind, and everybody was interested, whereas this doesn't do anything unique that makes you want to kind of gravitate towards it.
I think that is part of the key problem with this, is that this has been in development for about 5 or 6 years, and it therefore feels like a game from 5-6 years ago, in the sense of, as you said, you pay up front, there's no battle pass, it's not free to play, and that is how Overwatch launched. And that succeeded for Overwatch because it had good heroes, as we've talked about. But that's not the way the industry works now. We now expect these games to be free to play, to have a battle pass. And Sony should have understood that, yes, they don't want their games on PS Plus day one in the same way Game Pass does. But actually, PS Plus is a tool that they can use to get an audience for a live service game. Like, I was going to say it worked for Square Enix with Foam Stars. It didn't, because Foam Stars is now free to play and has
this week,
sort of bombed a little bit. But even
the fact
Square Enix
that still exists.
Even Square Enix put their new shooting game free to play, well, not free to play, but online shooting game on PS Plus.
Yeah.
Why did Sony not do that themselves? Even going onto the PlayStation Store, Concord is nowhere to be seen. There's no banner for it. You have to search for it. Well, now you can't. But even when it was out, like, it just wasn't visible. So it feels like Sony just haven't done enough to push it.
But I remember it wasn't Summer Games Fest. I think it might have been the Game Awards last year, where they were like, hey, this is Sony's big new thing, Concord. And everyone watched it, and then we saw the cinematic. We're like, oh, this is really cool. Very Guardians of the Galaxy. There's the guy that looks just like Drax. Is that a person?
Probably.
Yeah, the what's his name? Batista in Guardians of the Galaxy. So like, he was very much, there's obviously a character that looked just like him, that he even spoke and acted like him. There wasn't like a cool little raccoon, which would have been great in the game itself, would have been, having like a cool animal character or something wild like that. It's they're just so generic, the characters. But anyway, they so they showed this cinematic and everyone thought it was really, really cool. And then it went into the gameplay and it was like, it's a 5v5 hero shooter. And I just like all that was being said in any live stream and on Twitter was just, we didn't want that. We wanted something cool. We wanted some kind of sci-fi adventure. I mean, the characters are kind of dull, but if you've got it in a story game, then obviously then you can build up their characters through their story and their dialogue and whatever missions you're on. But when it's just 5v5, they need to stand out, and they don't.
I think you're right. Absolutely, it needs to stand out, and I think this sort of speaks to the state of the industry as much as it does Concord itself. Because people are then saying, "Oh, we don't want live service games. Live service games don't work anymore. They never succeed." If you look at the most played games online or at any point, they're literally all live service. Now, it depends maybe on your definition of live service, but like Roblox, Minecraft, GTA Online, League of Legends, Apex, Fortnite, like they are all the most played games in the world at any point, and they're all live service games in some way or another. So it's not that live service games don't work. It's that the ones that are established, because of the way live service games work, you have to keep playing them. You have to keep coming back, and you get sucked in. And it's the FOMO in Fortnite of, oh, there's a battle pass and this skin is only available for the next 2 weeks, so I have to come back and play it now, otherwise I'll never get this skin again. And so that keeps people playing. And it's really, really, really hard for a new game to come in and break that cycle for people and essentially take the audience from another game. And the only way you're going to do that is if you can offer something different and unique.
Yeah.
And it seems like Concord just hasn't done that. I mean, as another example, I played a game at Gamescom, I don't think I talked about it last week, called Fragpunk, which was shown at the Xbox showcase. It is a new developer called Bad Guitar, I believe. And it's another hero shooter, and it's 5v5, and it essentially plays like Valorant, where you've got a team's attacking and defending, and the attacking team have to plant a bomb, and the defending team have to stop them doing it. And it's a hero shooter. They all have abilities, boom, boom, boom. But it has another twist, which is a card system. So at the start of every round of your match, your team selects 3 different cards. And that might be extra ammo, extra health regeneration, or it might be it puts fog over the map, or low gravity, or it gives your enemies massive heads for headshots. And like, it's like playing with cheat modes, basically. And it just it means that every match is unique and different. And it gives you that random, unpredictable nature that is just an extra little twist that therefore I can imagine people playing that and thinking, oh, this is a bit different.
And a little
that's
bit
what
like
Concord didn't have.
Yeah, like the finals. That's very similar, isn't it? Well, I don't know what type of game. I think that's like a Counter-Strike kind of clone, but it has like destructible environments, and there's like playing a game, and people that have played it been like, oh, it's actually really good fun to play. It's free to play. You can go in and play it if you want. But like you can blow up the environments. There's a wall there. Go and smash it. Go and blow it up, and then you can go through there, and you can build your own routes. Like that's new. That's exciting. That's something a bit different, and that's where you build it. Concord just didn't do anything other than have some nice cutscenes. It also had like a weird world, like a galaxy map, and I hovered over it, and it had like a few data sheets that I could read about stuff that I had no interest in. And then there were loads of other planets that just had like 0 assignments or 0 whatever about them. Something like that. I had no idea what it was about, but it was really boring.
So I guess final question then. Do you think Concord will or can come back successfully?
If they just polish it up a little bit and then release it free to play, no, it won't be successful. I think it needs to be something different. They need to go back and be like, hey, what can we... And I don't... It's something that would then be out in 2 years, if that. So I don't know. I think it's... Like, the more I think about it, the less I'm convinced it's going to come back. Or if it does, it's going to be a very, very different game if they want it to succeed. I hope they don't just be like, well, we spent all this money. Let's just, let's just make it a little bit brighter. Let's go and change a few of the heroes, make them a little bit smarter, and we'll make it free to play. That's not even going to attract people. So,
I mean, maybe the sort of fatalistic crowd might come back of like, oh, I want to see how it's changed.
Part of me is really upset that they're announcing that they are closing it down so soon, because I'm like, If they said, "Oh, we're closing it down in 3 weeks," I'd be like, "Okay, I'm going to grind that platinum," because not many people are ever going to get
a
that.
lot of people are doing that now.
And I think time's running out for them now because
Yeah.
it's going out in 24 hours. And I've had a look. The only one that would have been difficult, like for me, is the one where you have to get 5 kills in a row. But maybe, you know what, as you're doing it. But you have to get to level 10 on all 16 characters. And you have to be level 100 on your main. And you also have to... So you have to be level 10 on all the 16 characters and also get 50 eliminations on each of them. And then also be level 100 on your main profile. And I think that was it, other than those ones, plus the 5 eliminations. So, like, if I had 5 eliminations in a row and 3 weeks, I might have been already, and 3 weeks, I might have been like, you know what, I can do this, and maybe just grinded it, and at the end of it, absolutely been sick of it, never want to see it ever again, and there'll be a reason then I'll be cheering that it would go, but
Fair.
they didn't, and that's probably good for my sanity, especially with some great games coming out.
Yeah. I would like to think that it will come back because I think it's a real shame that
So I'm just downloading Overwatch 2.
Right as we speak.
I was like, well, I want to play
on
that.
the screen.
It is there. See, the characters on there, look how cool they look. They just look really... They're quite unique. You can make your character hot if you want.
Or not.
Or not. I mean, that one, they just... I don't know. They just stand out. Like, there's a guy here with a giant sword and a kind of skull...
mask.
Yeah, kabuki mask. And just looks cool. Whereas the ones in Overwatch...
Concord.
Concord, sorry. The ones
Easily confused, clearly.
The ones in Concord are just... Well, have you seen them?
I've seen a little bit of them, yeah. And I can't remember them, which probably tells you something.
Exactly, yeah.
Like,
It's like...
I would like to see it come back because I think the developers have put a lot of time and effort into it. And I think it's a shame when that's not given the time to grow. And clearly it was not released in a state that it should have done. That, to me personally, sort of seems like a mismanagement thing of someone at the top has come up with bad ideas and then pushed it through. Like, we're going to focus our efforts on, I don't know, the servers as opposed to nice characters or whatever it might be.
I mean, the gun,
it feels like
the gunplay, the traversal, and that kind of stuff feels great. They've nailed that, so they've got the talent there. You can tell that they're coming from Bungie or wherever.
Yeah, and it would be a shame if that all went to waste. I think the state of the industry, with so many games getting closed at the moment and layoffs and all these things, and it's like the immediate thing of, if this doesn't instantly work, then bin it. And it seems like at the least there's at least the grounds for a decent game, and I think, even if they just brought it back free to play, boosted like the character designs, and gave you a battle pass, that at least starts to get people interested in trickling in, and then from there it grows. I mean, I'm pretty sure like Overwatch was good from the start because Blizzard had the time to do it, and now everyone is copying it and coming up with other things. I'm pretty sure Apex didn't do that well at the start.
Did. I remember playing a lot.
But it's also grown over time.
But yeah, it started with 6 people. I know you play as groups of 3, but I'm pretty sure it started with 6. So those ones had quite strong personalities, and then you gravitated towards them. And then when a new one was coming out, everyone was excited about it. I think Apex had a bit of an issue because I think the next few years of stuff got leaked a while ago, or they got hacked everything, so everyone knows what's coming out. But it's still an exciting game. I just think... When it comes to making a hero,
it's a live service game. It's live,
yeah.
So like it's almost like it's early access. Give us something small and focused, and then when you prove that works, you can add to it. Don't try and do everything at once.
Yeah.
Sorry, Karen.
No, and another reason is like they didn't have I don't think they had a season pass, or if they did, it wasn't like everything was included in the game. It was £40. They didn't have any microtransactions in Concord,
which is nice.
Which is a good thing, but also sometimes a season pass and like a brand new season that comes in and brings in all these new cosmetics, that kind of keeps things a bit fresh. And that one didn't. That like launched with everything, and you're like, it's not needed. But one thing I was saying, yeah, and I've mentioned it before, but when you've got a hero shooter, you need to have a theme and a really cool idea for every single character. What it seems like they've done is been like, right, cool, this is a game that's inclusive for all, fantastic. So we need somebody that's plus size And this guy here is he's gonna be gay, he's gonna be plus size. This is his character. This is what he's going to look like naked. Let's go and put some clothes on him to make him cool. And it's like, no, you need a theme. You need to be like, hey, this person is the human embodiment of Zeus. So let's go and get everything around them and like really like focus on that theme, and then build their kind of, their who they are and what they are kind of around that.
So he shoots lightning and he can hover on a cloud.
And he has some wings. Does Zeus have wings?
No.
Oh, well, yeah, he's got clouds everywhere. When he walks, he falls behind him. I don't know. There's just so many. Like, it's like it was made by committee.
It probably was.
Instead of being like, hey, let's bring in an artist to kind of decide the direction of all the characters so that they all complement each other and they all stand out and have a kind of a bit of a unique style instead of what they brought.
Hmm.
But anyway, that's Concord. I will never be talking about it again until it comes out, it is re-released.
Got it out your system now.
Yeah, and I'm glad I played it. We had so many trolls, and it's all the trolls when I was streaming. Like, genuinely, I've not had this many trolls since Asmongold put me up on his stream.
Yeah.
So it was, troll central with just everybody saying the same thing. Go woke, go broke. Because I'm like, yes, it's because the pronouns that are next to like the job, that's the thing that's brought this game down. It's like, no, if you listen to the last 30 minutes of what I've been talking about Concord, that's why it failed. Yeah. But people will love to blame it. And I'm pretty sure none of them thought that themselves. They've all seen that arsehole that used to work at Blizzard or wherever it was. Where was he? The Grums?
Grums.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't pay any attention.
Well,
to that
whatever
twat.
he says, like there's an army of incels that just kind of repeat exactly what he says. And the fact that every single person said the same thing when they came into the chat, I'm like, all right, which of your neckbeard, far right, loser, shit in a pot in the corner of the room because I can't be asked to go to the toilet, of your idols of yours has come up with this. So, and the fact that they went round every single Concord stream, I imagine, and said the same thing.
Stop shitting on games and diversity and go and clean your bedroom.
There we go. That needs to be on a t-shirt.
Talking to you, Asmongold.
Wow, call him out.
Did you? Oh, I will. I really enjoyed the power wash meme.
Oh God, yeah. Was that the official account?
The official account retweeted it and was like, "We don't have enough soap or something ridiculous.
Don't have enough soap to clean his." Didn't I read that he had like bleeding gums because he doesn't go to the dentist and like rubbed them against his wall, so it was like a bloody mark on his wall from him rubbing his bloody gums. That is what I read on Reddit, so it must be true.
Oh,
but
clearly.
Yeah, that is alleged.
Wow. Well, from one rant to another, I'm going to tell you about Star Wars Outlaws.
Please, yeah, let me relax. Because I played a little bit of it. I'm not too fussed about going back.
Well, you quite liked it. But Star Wars Outlaws is the latest game from Ubisoft.
Ubisoft?
Whichever.
Ubisoft. Isn't it a dick joke? It generally is.
Okay, great.
Ubisoft,
well,
and then
that shows you what kind of company they are. It is an open world game set in the Star Wars universe. It was developed by Massive, who made The Division, which is one of your favorites.
Yeah, that's great. I hope the director now moves on to Division 3.
Yes. Well, something good. Star Wars, it's had a bit of a mixed response in reviews. There are people who love it and people who hate it. I have been playing it for the last week. I haven't finished it, but I've played... Actually, I haven't checked the percentage recently, but I reckon I must be nearly 2/3 through it.
Oh, wow.
At least through the main story.
Yeah.
It's typical open world. There's loads of stuff to do, loads of extra stuff, but there's a core sort of quest line. Ultimately, I don't think it's a very good game.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's quite poor. And there are a number of reasons for that. And I think a lot of that comes down to bad design decisions and just a lack of game logic. Like, you do things in the game and then something else happens that just doesn't make sense afterwards. It just doesn't fit together to me. A lot of the game. Sorry, I will go back a step. The main thing that they've been trying to achieve with this game is this idea of being a scoundrel. So this isn't a Star Wars game with lightsabers and the Force and Jedi. It doesn't have any of that. It is a scoundrel game with shady deals and the underworld and all this kind of stuff. And you play as a character called Kay Vess, who is shock horror, a woman, which obviously...
With very 80s hair.
70s, I'd say.
Okay.
She's very Ripley from Alien.
Okay.
Which technically is 79.
Well, wasn't Star Wars late 70s?
The first one was, and then the other ones were 80s. So shock horror, she's a woman, and obviously people don't like that, and that's the idiots that we were just mentioning. In general, not necessarily those people specifically. And she's essentially a female Han Solo in all but name. And she's trying to give you that vibe of sort of plucky, rogue kind of character. I just don't think she's very well written. And it's not... I don't like her because she's a woman. I don't like her because she has nothing of interest to say. It's like she's just a walking scoundrel and she doesn't comment on what's happening. There's no character development.
Wow.
I don't think the lines are very good or well written. So for that reason, I haven't warmed to her. Like there's a sense that she's likable on a basic level. Like if you like Han Solo, you're gonna like her, but there's nothing more to her than that. So with that, a big part of the gameplay is stealth.
Yeah,
and I know you hate stealth.
Yeah, but going back to that, I agree with you that it's like I don't. So I played it for about 8 hours, maybe something like that.
That much?
Oh, maybe less.
I thought you'd done like 2.
No. I played it a fair bit afterwards. I got through that second base, and I don't know, maybe like 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours.
Okay.
But I would not be able to tell you her personality.
No.
However, the little thing you get, much better. Nix is great.
Yeah, so she has a little alien pet called Nix,
Mm-hmm.
who basically can sort of do everything for you. Nix is a walking tool who can distract enemies and hold things and grab things and steal things, but also works terribly in practice because it's buggy as hell. Yeah. So you send Nix somewhere and he doesn't really listen, and then takes ages to get there, or he sort of like runs the long way and then he gets seen, and it's like he doesn't work like how you want him to work.
And you can tell, it's interesting because there is like, I think there's cover you can stand in and you use that, but I can tell that the Division people have worked on it because they have like gadgets and stuff that kind of distract people and do that. So it's very much, the stealth in that is like use Nix, but it doesn't work so well because the actual stealth in the game is really, really bad. Like, it's a Ubisoft game. Take notes of the stealth from like Assassin's Creed because that is fun. Like the stealth bits in Assassin's Creed is one of my favorite bits, and I'm bad at stealth. You maybe have known that from seeing my gameplay with stuff. I'm terrible at it, and Star Wars makes me kind of feel like I'm 10 times worse. But Assassin's Creed, like you sneaking up on somebody, they'll be a little bit generous. If you see, if somebody's walking sideways to you, they'll maybe, if as long as you're not too close or too near the front, they won't see you. So you feel like you can do it a lot more easily than maybe you should. Whereas this, if you dare to kind of like move slightly behind a crate, then there could be a stormtrooper like across a galley or whatever that can that just suddenly sees you and suddenly goes orange and then comes and gets you.
I think there are 3 things that are wrong with the stealth. The first is that you just don't have enough options.
You can't. I don't know if you can.
You can't hide a body.
Well, you can't hide a body, no. But also, I don't know if you can. Can you like? Oh, what's it called? Like go into cover and hide against something.
You don't snap to it, but if you're behind it, then you're in cover.
Yeah, like it's the Division people. I need to snap to it.
Fair. You don't have enough options. So we said you've got Nix as your tool who can do things for you. And apart from that, Kay can shoot like a sort of sleep bullet, essentially, which takes ages to recharge.
Oh, God, it does.
Or she can run up and just smack people. And she can apparently punch a stormtrooper to death, even through armor. So good luck with that. But there just aren't enough options for you to be creative. The best stealth game, something like Metal Gear Solid 5, just gives you all these options and tools and different things to essentially play with the enemy And this doesn't allow you to do that. It's just I need to get from A to B and not get seen, and you just end up crawling around things and going through very obvious vents.
That's what I loved
And
about in Spider-Man. Spider-Man, you can really, really toy with them. You
yeah,
can whistle at them. You can distract them. You can, you bring them up in the web. You can help. You can use the environment to kind of bring some metal bars to fall on people. Like there's so much. You can drop things on them. There's so much you can do.
this doesn't have that. So it just feels like you end up doing stealth all the time to infiltrate different bases, and every mission is just, oh, here's this big story. Can you go and get this thing from a base for me? Or, oh, can you go and hack this thing for me?
Yeah, people might be like, hey, why are
And
you going on and on about the stealth? This is a Star Wars game. But like the missions I've played are
they're
always
literally all stealth.
all stealth.
So
And they still continue like that.
Yeah. So there's not enough options. The second thing is that there's too many instant fails. So especially in the early missions, it's very much like Kay is weak. She can't be seen. You can't be seen by the enemy because you'll screw up your faction relationship. So, like, literally, you get seen and it's instant failure. And that is infuriating with the third thing that's wrong, which is that the AI is abysmal. So it might be that they suddenly...
see you.
It might be that they don't see you at all and you can practically run right up to them and they just don't see you. And you're like, really? Or it's the complete opposite where I'm literally in cover and someone has suddenly spotted something across the room like a body because you can't move bodies. And you're like, well, that was over there 10 minutes ago and now you're punishing me with an instant failure.
Yeah.
It does not make sense to me. It's so bad. The stealth is abysmal.
It really is. If the stealth was really, really good fun, like an Assassin's Creed game for me, I'd be like, great, I'll play it just to... And like, yeah, I do play Assassin's Creed games, and I do quite enjoy stealthing, mainly the older ones rather than kind of Valhalla. But like Valhalla does really good if you want to be kind of stealthy, but also you can just go in brute force and attack, whereas this doesn't have fun. Like neither of them are fun.
So you can just run in certain missions. So some missions you have to be stealthy.
Yeah.
Other ones you can just run in and start shooting everybody. But like 3 hits and Kay is dead. So you can't really rely on that too much. And the shooting I wouldn't say feels great. You don't get that many weapons. She essentially has a pistol that has 3 different modes for different... There's like it's a normal pistol, a sort of electric thing for robots, and a charged explosive thing. And then you can collect the weapons of enemies, but they have limited ammo. So you don't you don't have a lot of options for gunplay. And that for me ties into the second major thing that's wrong with the game as a whole, which is just a general lack of choice. And I think it's trying to give you the illusion of choice. You are this scoundrel character and it's up to you to find out sort of how you're going to survive in the criminal underworld of space. And whether that be through options of manipulating people through stealth or things like through the story. There are 4 different factions, which are essentially different sort of groups of bounty hunters or factions that are looking after different areas of the galaxy. So Jabba the Hutt is the leader of the Hutts, and you've got Crimson Dawn and the Ashiga. Oh wait, no, Ashiga is Zelda. Ashido?
No idea.
I don't know. There's one that sounds very similar. That's clearly sort of Asian inspired, I think, and sort of ninja inspired. So these 4 factions, and there's this whole gameplay thing about your relationship with them, and you can manipulate one, and if you please one, you'll piss off another, and how do you want to play them off against each other? But in practice, all it is just a sort of relationship meter with each one. And if you do a mission with one of them, you make a choice at the end to side with one of the others. Like, do you want to double cross them? It's like you're just making a binary decision, and then the meter either goes up or it goes down. And I'm pretty sure you can just do some side quests for the one that's lower to just please them and get them back up again. So there's no real consequence to your actions. There's no real reason to play them off against each other and choose one or the other, because the story doesn't really play out any differently. All it is really is that there are areas on the map that if you don't have a good relationship, you can't go in, and so you just stealth your way in instead. But if you have a good relationship, you can just walk straight in and maybe sell stuff at the store for a better price. So it's, can you walk in and out of areas? That is literally all it is for this faction thing. So it's giving you this illusion of this criminal underworld, but really it's not doing much. And even the game as a whole, I feel like so much of it has these set pieces. The beginning especially is very heavy for this, but there are other bits later on. It has these set pieces that seem really cool, but it just feels really linear and really on rails, and it's very much like go here and jump at this point, and there is obscene use of yellow paint, and not just yellow paint, but literal arrows that are pointing go up, go left to just direct you. So there's no improvisation or exploring. It's just we want you to have this exact cinematic experience. So go here and do that. So it's trying to give you this feeling of choice, but so much of the game is just linear and on rails, and at least the story quests are very much like that.
My favorite bit about you were saying that it was there were lots of like instant fails. There was one thing where I needed I wasn't allowed to be seen, and I had to get through a door, but the door had a barrier. And the barrier I had to go and destroy two two power sources for the barrier. And I started doing stuff, and then it went all tits up for some reason. I can't remember what it was. I think I pressed the wrong button or whatnot.
Likely.
And then yes,
or you pressed the right button and it just glitched and didn't do it.
It was
at the same
definitely
time.
I definitely remember feeling a bit hard done by it. I was like that was ridiculous. But I ended up then I was like, I'm just gonna fight, and I shot a few, and then I saw the power source, so I destroyed the power source, and then like I got completely swarmed by enemies, and they murdered me, and then they're like, yeah, well, no, actually, they did murder me. It said I couldn't be seen, which is weird because then it wasn't an instant fail. But anyway, I got killed, and then I kind of respawned at the other side of the area, at the other side of the arena, of the area where I'm meant to be hunting down these two power sources. One had already gone, so they'd respawned me. My level had gone down to 0, so nobody knew where I was. I was on the other side of the map, and I was like, oh well, the other power source is kind of really close to me, so I just went and destroyed that, and then walked through the door. It was like that helped me, but also I didn't feel like I did that correctly, because like if I'm running at something and like under a hail of bullets I destroy it and then I get killed myself, I'd feel like I haven't really done the objective.
The checkpoints are wild, and that's where for me it loses the logic of the game. I had a similar thing where I was doing a mission, and part of the story is that essentially your wanted level, it's a bit like GTA, you have like a wanted level, but it's only with the Imperials and the Empire. And essentially by doing this mission, your wanted level goes up, and it literally went to the maximum level where there are like ships flying down everywhere, and these like super hardcore troopers, I can't remember what they're called, like after you and like hunt you down, and so you have to kill them.
Hurricane troopers.
No, but nice try.
Get it?
Yes. You have to like destroy those or sort of hack the systems to stop your wanted level going up, and it's part of this particular story mission that this happens. And I ended up dying, and it then respawned me earlier, but without the wanted mission, without the wanted status.
Yeah.
And I'd lost it completely, and then I just carried on to where I needed to go. And I'm like, you've just completely lost the point of this mission,
Yeah.
which was to teach me how to lose the status, and I lost it by dying.
I mean, you do lose your wanted status if you die.
But it's just
if you die, if you were to
makes
die,
no sense to me at all.
The police would no longer want to arrest you if you were dead.
Well, true, but I also wouldn't respawn. So I feel like I've sat and shat on the game, and the thing is that despite all of that, I found it weirdly compelling.
That's the Ubisoft thing, isn't it?
And I sort of quite enjoyed it. And you're right. I think it's the Ubisoft thing. Ubisoft, whatever.
Ubisoft.
It is this open world. And when I say, it doesn't give you choice, yes, there's choice in that you can explore anywhere in the world and you can go and do different side quests and do those different things. Fine. The world is quite empty. And a lot of those side things just give you bits of treasure or cosmetics that aren't particularly interesting. So it's not really worth it. But you can go and do it. What I do like about it is that it doesn't give you the typical go to a tower, unlock all the icons, because that's boring. It happens very organically. And I guess there's maybe a slightly similar way of you essentially land, you go to the city, you go to the cantina, and then you speak to people and you find out rumors, and that then unlocks quests. Or maybe you just go and sidle up to a bar and you lean and you hear a conversation by people, or you hear two people like muttering in the street, and then you're like, ooh, they're talking about treasure. Maybe I can steal that. And so a lot of the way that you gain quests and missions is just through intel and through discovering things and hearing conversations. So that does feel quite organic, and it does fit with this criminal underworld vibe. Also, K levels up with different abilities, but you gain those abilities by achieving different things in the game. Be that, you know, shooting a certain number of people with different weapons, or stunning a certain number of enemies, or getting Nix to do certain things, or whatever. Which again happens organically just by playing, and then you unlock different abilities. So it's got that thing of, oh, well, maybe if I approach this way, I can then unlock this ability, or oh, I'm really close to upgrading my pouch for my health. So if I just go and buy this item, I can do that. So, and that's stuff that maybe you would go and buy from a smuggler that you've just, in a faction, you've just pleased. So there are things like that that sort of keep you hooked. And like I say, it happens organically, and I do quite like that. And that is very much the typical Ubisoft open world stuff that is just naturally compelling, because that's what they've done in every game, and they're very good at doing that. So that has drawn me in and kept me playing. I also like that it's Star Wars. I'm not like super uber Star Wars fan, but I do really enjoy them. I like that this is going back to the original trilogy, and it's giving you that 70s, 80s vibe. I will say that the forced widescreen is horrendous.
I turned off
and there is
immediately.
an option to do full screen, which actually allows you to look at the world, which is nice.
And turn off the film grain as well.
Although I kept that on, but I didn't mind it so much.
It's not as bad as it was in the demo, because I played the demo and was like, this is really, really over the top.
They changed that.
Yeah, it's definitely less than it was. And I think, because Ready Set Ben, a creator, he came out of playing the game for a little bit for 15 minutes and was like, that film grain is really bad. And I had to literally find out. I was like, okay, I need to go and play this game and see how bad it is. And yeah, I think I mentioned it before. I was at Gamescom, and then I went and queued for like 30 minutes, and I was like, I'm not going to be able to get to my next meeting if I keep staying in this queue in the Xbox area. So I went to the next area in Gamescom. Hall, that's the word. And there was a giant Star Wars thing, and I couldn't see into it because it was all blocked off pretty much, apart from the front, which was around the other side. But the entrance to the queue was there, and I was like, oh, how long's the queue? And she was like, oh, it's free. So I actually went in, and there were about 4 people playing it on about 20 computers. So I was like, great, I'm going to go in. And yeah, played a bit and totally agree. I remember being like, oh, the stealth in here, this is terrible. But also, like, the one thing I was thinking was, this is really film grain everywhere. So I think they have turned it down.
You essentially turn it on or off, so you can't change the intensity, but it's not that bad. So
it was a lot worse when I played it.
So I like this kind of old school Star Wars vibe, but it also doesn't feel very Star Warsy to me.
Yeah.
Now, yes, it's got Tatooine eventually when you get there, and it's got stormtroopers and all the creatures and aliens and cantinas, and that is definitely Star Wars. And it's not that Star Wars for me has to be Jedi and Force powers. Again, I like that it doesn't have that, but there's just a sort of magic missing from it that it just doesn't feel Star Warsy. And I think partly I don't think there are enough screen wipes in the edits, which is just a very Star Warsy thing that I just don't think it has a lot of. But the main thing for me, I think, is that it doesn't have very good music.
Yeah.
And the start of every Star Wars film begins with the yellow scroll and the.
Does it? And Jedi, it might do in Jedi games.
Maybe
That's a Jedi thing.
I don't know. For me, it's a Star Wars thing, and this doesn't start with the scroll, and it doesn't have the typical Star Wars themes. I've not heard a familiar theme once. Even the cantina doesn't have.
Does it not?
Doesn't have that.
Is it not an option on the jukebox?
Even the Mos Eisley cantina does not have. Might be on the jukebox. I didn't change that.
Although
but there's a band playing, and they're playing something totally different, and I'm like,
can I also
I'm not
just
happy
say,
with that.
the jukebox, have you worked out how to work out what it is you're playing? Because it looks like jumbled up letters.
Oh, that's whatever language is the world of Star Wars.
But I'm also like, can we not translate it if I can
Apparently
understand
not.
that?
So it just doesn't have that iconic Star Wars orchestral score, and instead it's this like weird pulsing electronic music that sounds like, to me, what the Division would sound. I mean, I haven't played the Division, but I can imagine that music in the Division.
There is a level in that where there is. You need to play the Division. It's actually really, really good.
So I think for that reason, it just doesn't feel like Star Wars to me, and I like that they're doing something different, but it still is just missing some Star Wars magic.
See, I like it. It feels like Star Wars for me. Like
I think that's purely a taste thing, I will admit.
it is. I love it when there's a game that's affiliated with like films or set somewhere else, but it's something really away from what the main game is.
For sure.
And yeah, I don't mind that it's not like that the music's a bit different. I don't want the scroll at the beginning. That's for the films and Jedi stuff. I don't need it in the game. Well, the one thing that does make me feel, and it's the weird thing, but one thing that does make it feel really Star Wars for me are the round buildings. Like the buildings are I'm like, oh, I'm in a Star Wars world. So I like that I'm kind of somebody that's a nobody pretty much at the start anyway.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
And what I'm doing is probably what other people are doing in other places in the galaxy, and I'm just kind of doing my own thing. And I'm being ignored, and I'm a nobody. I'm not a Jedi. I've not got any power. I've not got any kind of status. So I really like that. And it's like if I was playing a Game of Thrones game, if it was Game of Thrones, but literally I am in
Jon Snow.
Not John. I wouldn't want to be Jon Snow. If I were a person who just worked in a bakery in King's Landing, or you're not even in a place near King's Landing, but occasionally, they talk about it and you might go there for an odd mission, and I don't know what the story would be, but it's your own completely independent story. I'd be like, you know what, that sounds really cool. I like that. And I don't particularly need to be the next King of the North or whatever.
Agree. And it's interesting. Jabba the Hutt is in there, so it's kind of like it's like they have to tie it in somehow. I mean, it takes place between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
Do you think
So it does specifically link in with certain characters and things.
Do you think that Disney insisted on some characters being in, or do you think that Ubisoft asked for certain characters to be in?
I think Ubisoft wanted to do something different. I think I would love to know if Disney are like, you must include X, Y, Z. And I don't know if they will, but I imagine they're probably quite protective of the license.
Just a little bit.
Purely speculating. But
really, Disney being...
as in there are certain things you can and can't do. So
Yeah.
they're not going to give developers completely full reign, especially if they're trying to make this canon, which I think it is.
The fact that this is canon and like so many things were decanonized and they said doesn't, like the Old Republic, that's to me, the Old Republic is something where it's like it's really taken away from these films. It's thousands of years in the past. I think it's 3,000 or 2,000, 3,000 years in the past. So you're in some places where in the films they go to, but right now it's so far removed. There's nobody that's even remotely related to those in the film, and it's like its own thing. And the birth of the Republic, I don't know what they were about. I didn't play. I played the Old Republic for quite a bit, but I can't remember. I was much younger. But yeah, I kind of annoyed that they're no longer canon. And if they're not, then just release a canon MMO.
I mean, an MMO where you can be whoever you want to be in the galaxy and be the criminal or the Jedi and do your own thing and live in that world is the dream for a lot of people, I'm sure.
The Old Republic is you are either a Jedi or a Sith. You can choose which, and I obviously went with Jedi. What would you have gone with?
Jedi as well, because I usually play as the good guy in games.
Yeah, same.
And then I go back and go, I'm going to do a second playthrough as the evil character, and then I get halfway through and go, no, I'm bored.
Or you go, no, I'm going to be a good evil character.
It's like Mass Effect. I always just play the same thing every time.
Yeah.
The other thing with Outlaws is that it's buggy as hell. The AI is terrible. There's loads of glitches. The visuals to me are sort of odd. I've been playing it on PlayStation, I'll say. I think on PC it actually looks really good.
Some of the controls are a bit weird as well, aren't they? Like I don't. So we
you
had
need to be in the exact right place in order to jump to a ledge or.
So R3 is a bit interesting to press to open and do everything, but two things for me. One of them was, and we found out that we play games differently. So whenever I'm playing a game, I'm going to show you on the controller, which is here. And people listening won't know this, but when I'm playing a game, I have my fingers on the triggers here, and I move
your first fingers.
My first finger. So my index fingers will be for L1, R2, L1, L2, and R1, R2. I switch them around. And
so you're using two fingers for 4 buttons.
I use 2 fingers for 4 buttons because I've never met a game that requires you to use R1 and R2 kind of at the same time. It's like when I play Dark Souls or Elden Ring, whatever, R1 is a light attack, R2 is a heavy attack. I don't press them both at the same time. Whereas this, when you're playing the speeder, you've got the R2 to kind of go forwards, but then you use L1 and R1 to strafe left and right. So I'm holding it like this and using my finger like that to hit it to R1, and it's a pain in the arse.
Okay, so I hold a controller correctly, which is that I use 2 fingers.
I bet you use like 10
So
I bet you use all your...
R1 is for finger 1 and R2 is for finger 2.
No.
And that way you can just hit immediately whichever ones you want.
Is that where you got your nickname Eddie Four Fingers from?
That's something very different.
Okay. But no, it's not. I bet you use all 8 of your fingers, not including your thumbs, when you're typing, don't you?
Yeah. Actually, no. I use
like 2.
I don't use my little fingers, I don't think.
That's just
But
weird.
I use the first 3 at least.
Oh no, it's just ping, ping,
Are
ping,
you
ping,
just
ping,
one
ping, ping,
finger?
ping, ping. Yeah, most of the time.
No. So, okay, learn to hold a controller properly. That's
No,
fine.
I don't. My fingers are too big, I think.
Yeah, let's go with that.
I can't do that. No, because then I'm going to drop it because it's not... I haven't got the proper hold.
Grip.
I need to hold things strongly and then use my fingers
Don't you get wrist ache with that?
No, because I don't get as kind of... You're the one that breaks
It's
the
just
controllers.
balanced.
You played Demon Souls so vigorously when it came out that your controller R2 doesn't even work.
I think it was a launch controller that was not made to last.
I don't think so. But no, the other thing as well, so that annoys me, and you're going to disagree, but those fucking unlocking mini games where you have to press things in the right, and you have to do like duh, 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 and you have to match the tone.
Okay.
Wait, no, let's not okay it just yet. But you have to kind of match the beat, and I'm like, okay, I can do that. But you match the beat, so it'll be like going duh, 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 duh. So then when you do it the next time, you go duh, duh, duh. However, that will be completely fine, but they put it for the R2 trigger, and I'm like, R2 is a gradient like trigger that you pull. It is not a button. So when you want me to go but, I'm there having to do it on the right trigger, and I'm like, no, just let me press it on like triangle or something, going pee pee pee, instead of having to pull a trigger, because I don't know where. Does it count it when I'm starting pulling the trigger or when I finish it? Have I got to whack this trigger down as quickly as I can? And not, half the time it doesn't work. And I don't know if there's a delay when I'm going it through there doing streaming or whatever, but it doesn't work. And I used to play the tuba, so my rhythm is maybe not when I'm dancing, but I kind of know how to match a beat.
There are 2 mini games for like hacking. So one of them is essentially Wordle, where you have to match.
See, that one I'm good at.
Match the symbols, which is fine, but the more you play it, it unlocks things to make it easier, and it just becomes a bit boring. Yeah. The other one is the rhythm one you're talking about, which, to give you the visual for everyone listening and watching, you will know that R2-D2, when he sort of goes into a system, sort of his little probe comes out and he starts turning,
4 fingers,
and he starts turning on the little dial and whatever. It's essentially, Kay has a gun that can do that in order to hack things. And so it will play you a rhythm and you have to play it back. Now, yes, I agree with you. R2 is absolutely not the right button to do that with because it doesn't make sense. However, I have learned that you have to be slightly ahead of the beat in order to do it. However, I also watched you do it and you were absolutely out of time.
No, I wasn't. You were, no. Okay, don't worry, Ed. There's no chance of you losing your title of chief musician in this household. You don't need to put my music rhythm down.
I'm just stating the facts that I watched you and you were doing this and you were just not in time.
I was definitely in time. The game.
So anyway, let's finish up on Star Wars. It's not a good game.
Don't buy it.
And I wouldn't recommend buying it unless you are a massive Star Wars fan or a massive Ubisoft open world.
Which I am. I really like Star Wars and I love open worlds, but I haven't even got to the main open world bit, so maybe that's why.
And that's the thing. I also like those things, and therefore I have found it compelling to a degree. I think if you just go into it mindlessly as sort of popcorn entertainment, you will find enjoyment in there, and that's fine. I think as soon as you start thinking about the game in any depth, every single system and gameplay element falls apart. Like, there's not a good game underneath it. It just has a nice Star Wars sheen.
I played some Thumper the other day. I've got great rhythm. I did that very well. No deaths.
Sure.
Anyway, so yeah, that is Star Wars. And yeah, I haven't got to the bit where it fully opens up, but just, I don't know. They've got such great... The Division is an amazing game. Assassin's Creed series are really, really good games. Why have they managed to fail at both those type of things? They failed at like the gadgets and the distractions and all that, and they've also kind of failed at the stealth. It's like that's quite impressive.
I think what they maybe wanted to do, and I think maybe what people thought this was going to be, was GTA and Star Wars.
Disney would never allow that.
Not to the degree of GTA and stealing and stuff like that, but even like I said, the wanted system and things like that. It in the open world, it feels like it's sort of gearing towards being that, but it never succeeds if that's what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah. Right. Well, before we move on to Dawn Trail, because we've still got that one to talk about. Very, very quickly, I have finished Monument Valley on the phone on Apple Arcade. That was a really enjoyable little puzzle game. And if you don't know what it is, you have to get the little person. You have to tap where they need to go, and you need to get them to the end of this like weird painting. Now, who does the fancy paintings that are all mind-bending things?
Escher.
Who?
Escher.
And his surname?
No, his surname is Escher. I can't remember his first name.
Oh.
Escher is his surname.
Well, he, he went, he makes those paintings that look like you can kind of forever, like the never-ending waterfall, or there's like the steps that are constantly going up.
Cornelius
Moritz Escher. Yeah, you should have said.
He's Dutch.
I think it's based on. I think those paint. Oh, okay. I think it's based on those paintings because you have to get from one place to another, but you can kind of rotate and turn things so that from one angle it looks like he can't cross this bridge, but if you turn the whole actual like the level around, you can see that the way that the perspective is, there is a path, and then it follows that. So it's really, really clever. It never gets too difficult. I've done the 10 levels, and then I got credits, and I was like, oh, this is great. And then they're like, hey, you've got 8 of these things and a few more things. So I'm like, great, this is going to be a good train journey. And I nearly missed my stop at when coming home tonight because I was just finishing it. But it is really, in fact, we stopped for like 10 minutes, and I'm like, yes, so I could actually go and finish it. But it's if you've got Apple Arcade, go and play it. There's also the second one on there as well. It's called Monument Valley Plus, I think, on Apple Arcade, so it must have some extra things in.
Both games were made for mobile. I'm pretty sure.
Were they both made for mobile? Oh.
Yeah, they're originally released on mobile, but they are available on Steam, I believe.
Great, and the third one's coming out on Netflix only.
Joy,
which is interesting.
They are. I've only played the first one, but it's lovely music, very sort of psychedelic and gentle, and not as simple as it seems.
Well, yeah, but it doesn't. It's not. You're not going to be stuck for ages on something. It's not like what was that annoying game that I quite liked in the end, Cocoon. Whereas there were some bits in that where I'm like, this I've absolutely no idea, and I'd be stumped for about 15 minutes before being like, oh yeah, I've got to drop this while flying through the air or whatever. This you've got like eventually, even if you just kind of press things a million times and turn things, you will eventually get things. And there were a couple of times where I stopped for a few minutes and was like, oh, this is what I need to like get my head around what I need to do with it. But no, it's just go and play it. If you've got Apple Arcade, it's like I said, it's included on there. Try it out. You'll play the first 2 or 3 levels, and I'm sure you'll fall in love.
I'm gonna just quickly check Steam.
Yeah. Well, while you do that, I've played a bit of the.
They are, $6.99 on Steam. They're called the panoramic editions, so they moved it widescreen.
Oh, okay.
Because it's for a monitor, not for a phone.
And it's beautiful. And there's even a mode in there where you can take screenshots like immediately of the game, just because it looks so pretty. Very, very quickly as well, I played a bit of the Call of Duty more Black Ops 6 beta, and I played it a little bit on mouse and keyboard. And apparently one of the big things this time around is the omnidirectional movement. So you can like dive left, you can run left, backwards, straight, you can dive backwards while shooting and all this stuff. And I started to do it, and then my fingers started buckling up, and I'm like, this is no. So I went and played a bit more on controller, and that was a lot easier to do. And other people can enjoy games, Ed. You don't need to express your disgust at it. But I enjoyed playing a bit of that and killing. I actually killed quite a few people, and it was just very goofy, and I quite like a goof. I don't know. Sometimes I'm in the mood at the moment to play multiplayer shooters. Clearly. The one thing I do get a bit annoyed at, and they do it with the Call of Duty, and they do it with some others as well, is like they automatically have kind of voice on. You can mute yourself immediately, obviously, very easily. and you can turn it off in the settings. But it like by default, you can hear other people, and that's the last thing I want to do. I
don't
never
wanna hear that.
ever want to hear a single person. I don't even want to see their text. I don't even them to have the ability to message me. I don't care about them. I'm there playing with them, but we're not a team. So, which I'm sure is bad for them. But so that I turned off, and that was a bit annoying. But like the game itself, it's Call of Duty. It seems a bit faster paced, and you can jump around and dive. And I'm sure there'll be lots of fancy trick shots that people will make recordings of. And finally,
Oh, I've got one as well. So carry on.
I played Deathlock, which is on Steam. And am I allowed to talk about that?
Well, you're playing it and it's public, so.
Is it public? Oh no, I think it's closed beta. You have to get an invitation. I've sent you one anyway.
Okay.
That is their, I believe it's like Dota or things with lanes, and you have to go and destroy the thing in the other person's base. I think other games like that exist.
That sounds like League of Legends as well.
Yeah, sounds like that, but it's kind of first person. Is it first person? No, it's not first person. It's third person. But you're literally running around, and they have the lanes. Like you go on to kind of a. So yeah, this is a very much like a League of Legends Dota type thing where it's, I want to say like 6v6, and then there are 4 lanes, and so you start with your team on one side of the arena and your enemies on the other side. And yeah, you push and push along your lanes, which are the routes to get there. And then you end up like destroying their kind of defenses, and then eventually you get to their base and you have to destroy their base. But there's you and the characters, and it's a hero shooter. I played a dude who had a red shirt, black waistcoat, had very much like kind of gunslingery cowboy vibes, but had like flames coming out of his hat because his specials were like all about fire and burning things, and then like bullets that set people on fire. And like one where you kind of did a charging attack and everything in your wake was left on fire. And like one where you turn yourself into a bomb that blows up and kind of stops people. So like that is how to make a cool hero. Those were really cool. And there was another one that was all about ice. So that's a good way. But those games are not really for me. I've decided, although we won, but a match was 30 minutes. I was like, oh, we'll do the podcast in 10 minutes
long.
when I finish it. Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be so long. We did win. It did feel great. I'd have been really pissed off if we'd lost, even though there was no, because it's the beta, there's no kind of progression or anything. But yeah, I'm not that. I think there are people that have played those type of games for 12 hours a day for their entire lives since they were like 6 years old. And like, I'm not like that. And I just like the heroes and their moves and stuff were pretty cool. But I don't know, the lane shooter things. One thing which is good, which I don't think maybe they do in these kind of games. I don't know. I've never played them. But you've got like a monorail type thing above you that go. So there are 4 lanes and they all have a color. And at the hub, so when you die, you respawn in the hub, or when you start in your own hub. And then you can kind of join one of these monorails. They're all very brightly colored, and it will kind of take you to the center of the arena really quickly. So you don't have to kind of like, oh my God, I'm all the way back here. I've got to run through it all again. If there are a bunch of people kind of quite close to your base, you could go on that, go over them, and then go behind them. And like, there's a lot more, there are a lot more stuff like that. And you've also got your kind of like the AI bots, the smaller ones that will fight on your behalf. So it doesn't feel like it's just 6v6. It's like 6, but also you've got your little bots that they have to do damage to. So that one, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I don't think, because I mean, maybe when it comes out, if all my friends are playing it, I'll be like, hey, let's go and play together, because this could be quite entertaining if there's a bunch of us. But I would never ever queue on that again.
Also, it's Valve, so you know they're going to put some effort behind it.
That's going to be esports. Now, maybe actually watching, that's going to be like the esports game that's going to be coming out. People are loving it. It's getting very good reception from people that like those kind of games. And yeah, there will be tweaking things to it to make it perfect for its launch, whenever that is. But yeah, that will be one that... See, now I've played it and I know what to look out for. It's going to be interesting to watch people who do it with esports or whatever, to see what their skills and what their strategies are like. And maybe those are the type of games where you watch and then it kind of makes you want to play it.
You're going to become an esports
Absolutely not.
competitor soon.
Although I did win, but no. Maybe I'll be the Concord esports.
Oh God! No.
I should. Oh my god! I should log on and see. Well, I should log on and see where I am in the table, but I don't think so because I didn't go into ranked. But I heard that in the other thing that's shit about Concord, I don't know
There's
that
more?
this for fact. By the way, I was listening to the Jeff Gersman podcast earlier, our rival, and he was saying that, and he had the best title for his podcast, Concord's Bad Fur Day.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I thought you would. But apparently in ranked, if you play as a character, so you have your favorites, you have your main. If you start dying with that character, they block it off so you can't play it anymore. And it's like, that defeats the objective. You have a main, and if you're playing that person a lot,
You want to practice with them.
you need to keep playing with them. And like, yeah, are you being punished for dying and not going back and not improving? It's just, and they're forcing you to play with characters that you don't want to play with, or you don't really know their moves because they've all got special things and it's like 16 of them. It just blew my mind that exists. There were just so many bad decisions. I think, like we said earlier, I think a lot of things have been made by committee. Like decisions made by committee and not by someone with an actual vision.
I will throw out one more as we're talking about controversial games that I've been playing, which is Black Myth Wukong.
They're going to say like
which
Hogwarts or something.
No.
Speaking of controversial games.
Well, I mean, there's controversy around Black Myth Wukong and around the developer, and even most recent was people streaming it and then giving them guidelines around not talking about feminism and
that was
politics
stupid. I
and
mean,
whatever else.
the thing is, like, if you're doing a sponsored stream, not giving keys, but if you're doing a sponsored stream, I've had it where people say, like, yeah, don't talk about certain things before, but they're paying you to stream, but it's like, but it's not even don't talk. I don't even know if there is a don't talk politics while we're streaming, or just don't bring us into disrepute and stuff. But like,
I mean,
that's
there's a level
thing.
that it's your stream, do what you want.
But also the fact that they mention feminism is the thing that,
because they know people are going to talk about it. That's why they did it. There was reports of misogyny at the studio a couple of years ago. So that has coloured, let's say, the reception of the game somewhat. I've been playing it on stream because it's a game that I'm interested in. I've played before. I want to see what the full experience is like, but also I'm fully aware of the situation with the developer as well. Well, I say fully aware. I am, reading up on it and also writing about it because it's my job. And I will probably talk about it more in weeks to come once I've finished it. I'm enjoying it so far. It is incredibly stylish, but also I think it has become this huge overhyped beast.
yeah.
And I think people had expectations of what this game would be, and that's actually not what it is. So there was this whole thing about it being like a Souls competitor, and it's not really a Souls-like at all. It's much more linear, and there's much less character progression and customization, and it doesn't have a lot of the core elements you'd expect from a Souls game. It just happens to have third-person action RPG combat, which is quite fun. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. I enjoy going against the bosses, but it's not this groundbreaking thing that I think maybe people thought it was going to be.
It's not going to win any.
but
I don't think it's going to win any Game of the Year awards in the West. Maybe in China.
It will absolutely win China's Game of the Year because it's national pride for them that this huge game that is based on a Chinese story is doing so well globally, and that is brilliant. And it's opening my eyes to Journey to the West and what it is, which I didn't know about. But in the grand scheme of things,
as a game,
I think it's a little bit style over substance. But we'll talk more about that in time to come.
Once
I've played some more. But please come and join my stream because I'm playing it there.
Right. Well, we're an hour and a half in already. We haven't even spoke about what other people have done. And do we want to save Dawn Trail to next time?
Do we want to edge people?
I think we should because it's getting quite late as well.
That's fine.
So we will do Dawn Trail.
Right, Dawn Trail next time then.
Next time, I'm sorry. Although I don't think there's going to be any game that I'll have finished. Oh, we'll be probably playing Astrobot, won't we?
Yeah.
So next week will be Astrobot and Dawn Trail, we promise.
Yeah, we both finished Dawn Trail. So I will say, as some of you know, I've been on a journey to catch up. And this is the first time I have been up to date with the Final Fantasy 14 story,
There is, isn't
which
it?
has been a journey, and I've been keeping everyone up to date week by week. But now we have a final view on Dawn Trail. However, what I'm getting to now is what all of you lot have been playing, because we have 2 weeks worth. Because last week was Gamescom, so we have lots to get through here, and I want to make sure everyone gets their moment of time.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had some essays, just to warn you. So to strap in, everyone. But we're beginning with a short one from Riley, who says, genuinely Mass Effect. I'd only ever played Zelda and Pokemon games. Oh, wait, no. That was a different question of the day.
Oh.
Ignore me. Right, we start with Clasco. At the weekend, I played 2 indie games, Thank Goodness You're Here and What Remains of Edith Finch. Thank Goodness You're Here was hilarious, and I can only recommend that people play it. It was very silly, and the humour was slapstick, or slap bum in one case, and great fun. What Remains of Edith Finch was weird, and I'm not sure I really liked it that much. The dark setting gave me a headache, so maybe that's why I didn't get into it.
Well, everyone's got their opinions.
I mean, there are a lot of opinions this week. Let's say that.
I mean, that's good. But I loved Edith Finch, every single thing about it. And I even played it at like midnight until 2 a.m. I always bring that up. But it's beautiful, and I just love every little pocket of story that they give you.
Sret says, I've been playing Yoshi's Crafted World, which was released in 2019 and was one of the first Switch games I ever played. I don't know what prompted me to start a new save file and jump in, but I'm so glad that I did. I adore the art style. It looks so clean on the Switch. It's so chill, and you can play the levels front side or flip side, and it's such a cute little concept. It's the one where he's made of yarn, right?
Yes.
I've got a yarn Yoshi.
You have, and you can actually see it on the podcast this time.
Yeah, I bought him at Gamescom last year.
You did?
I did. There we go. Dan Law has been playing Cyberpunk 2077.
I need to start that.
Enjoyed so much, I ended up getting the Phantom Liberty DLC as well, which I haven't played. I played the base game, and it wasn't my favourite, but I really want to play the DLC because I think it's going to be really good.
I think you played that game at the wrong time.
I mean, it worked.
Yeah, but a lot of people now are saying that they've changed so much, like from when it was out when you played it. So I wonder if you'd enjoy it more, or if it's just. I think you've just got a sour taste now, haven't you?
Maybe a little, but Phantom Liberty
maybe go and play
get me
that.
Back in.
Yeah, maybe you should.
Now, having completed the game in its entirety, including all optional stuff, I highly recommend.
All optional.
Most may write it off given the state it launched in, but I really implore people to give it a chance. I did encounter 1 or 2 glitches that halted story progress. However, a quick load fixed the issue on both occasions. Given autosaves are frequent, not really an issue.
Sorry. Just Star Wars. You can't save the game for the first 3 hours, but for some reason, autosave exists like all the time.
I told you,
I don't get it.
You can really see the love and care that CD Projekt put into the game. Excellent performances, and not just from heavy hitters like Keanu and Idris.
And Alex Jordan.
It deals with some heavy themes, and it's written so well that choices presented really made me think. And another game is Tales of Kenzera Zao, which we interviewed Abu Bakr Salim. So please go and watch our podcast on that. I found the story to be a beautiful and moving experience. Abu Bakr Salim and Tristan Dalala both deliver amazing performances. The way it examines grief in relation to African mythology, which I'm not familiar with, is very interesting. The combat itself is varied and responsive. It's nice that animations differ depending on which mask your character has active. I played on standard difficulty and still found it challenging at times. A fog of war style element to the map makes backtracking for collectibles easy as well. I actually didn't like that.
No.
Well, it sort of gives you all the map, and then it's hard to know where you've been and where you haven't been. And when you want to explore, it's just a little tricky. Wibble just says Minecraft.
Great.
Thanks for the explanation.
I'm glad you're enjoying the server, because it keeps coming out of my bank, and I'm like, that's a lot of money. I might need to downgrade it a little bit. And I'll speak with Mr. Wibble because it's quite expensive, and I don't know if I need to pay for the level of server that I currently have for that. It'll never go, but if there are only like 2 or 3 people on it at one time, then maybe I don't need the fancy package I have.
Sure. Yes. Save some money.
Especially for Johan.
Moni says, I can contribute for once. And spoiler, we actually have 2 from Moni, so there's more to come.
Yeah, only one of them's good, though. So just read the good one.
Yeah. Well, So, after Ed kept talking about Dungeons of Hinterberg, I finally caved, no pun intended, and got it. And I completed 16 of supposedly 25 or 26 dungeons, and I really enjoy it. I will say this was from last week, and Moni, I know, has now finished the game. Also, Hinterberg is based in, well, it's a real place in Austria. And the game is based in Austria. And Moni is Austrian, which is why I really wanted to hear Moni's thoughts on this. I do play in vacation mode, also known as Moni mode, because I suck at video games, which only impacts the amount of battle in the game, but not the dungeons itself, or so they say. I started the game in English initially because I rarely consume content in German, but after the first 2 dungeons, I decided to switch because I was thinking I might miss some references, and I was right. A few cute things that I noticed after the switch were, for example, the treat that you eat, you raise your mana, i.e. your magic, which is called Mannerschnitte in German, which is a pun towards the little pink wafers which are made by Mannerschnitten. That are made here, or that the names they gave some ice creams. One is an old school ice cream available when I was a kid that we used to call Doppellutscher, which translates as double sucker, word for word. And they call it Doppler in the game.
I know something that's called a double sucker, but
and a Doppler in Austria is what they call a 2-litre bottle of wine. So there we go. Generally, I think it's a really enjoyable game. The dungeons are really fun. They are set in 4 different regions, which all have different abilities that you learn there, and they cover all different areas of Austrian landscape: mountains, forest, glacier, and lakes. Although the lake one I actually thought was swamps. So maybe I'm wrong. I thought there were swamps in Austria.
One person's lake is another person's swamp.
Turns out there are lakes. You basically come as an adventurer to Hinterberg, and then some story unfolds from there. The monsters are mostly based on Austrian fables, of which there are many, and so are the final bosses. It's really fun to play, and some bits of it feel really cool, and if you're into puzzly games, I think you definitely should pick this up.
Get out of my lake!
Yes, that's what Austrian Shrek says.
Yeah.
Brenda says, I've been playing the new DLC for Sticky Business. I don't know what that is. Lots of cute...
It's a euphemism.
Yeah. Lots of cute new sticker designs and stories. I already love... Wait, did Brenda talk about this in a previous podcast and I've completely forgotten?
Maybe. Sticky designs or sticker designs?
Sticker designs.
Okay, I don't need sticky designs.
No. I already love this game because of how easy it is to be creative, and more options is more better. Or just better. I bought both DLCs in one go. Only one came out recently, and the other has been out for a little bit. One is a planner set with journaling, planning themed stuff like habit trackers and days of the week. The one I like most is a camp-related one.
Do you correct Brenda's grammar?
I did. It's got a ton of nature.
Like say you speak Dutch.
I'm sorry. It's got a ton of nature type stickers, camp activities, and badges. It's really, really cute. I also played Gauntlets, which recently got released. I played the demo a few months ago and loved it, so now I bought the full game. It's a cute, chill game with no real objective. You build landscapes and houses, and these little creatures called Gauntlets come and live in the world and interact with stuff. They grill marshmallows, water plants, sit on benches, etc. I love the simplicity and cute style, but I wish there were more options or colours to decorate with. It's not an expensive game, but it's quite limited in my opinion. You can't spend hours on it before you've exhausted all options.
I've been emailed a few times about them, and that looks interesting. It looks quite good. I don't know if might even have it.
Chaddy says, I don't know if I'm too late. You're definitely not, because we're late. I started the first Hades last night, and I am addicted. I played until 2 a.m. Sent help. I think I will lose many hours to this. I love everything about the game. I cannot believe I've sat on this one for so long. Keep us posted, Chaddy, on how that's going, because well, I think I played it more than you have, but you can play it for a long time. You unlock so many things. There are so many layers. Let us know your favorite weapons or your favorite gods. Who are you thirsting after? There are a lot of questions with that game. And then you need to get Hades 2.
Because Colin Ryan is in it.
Yes. Also, Hades 2 is very good, but it's early access, so I didn't want to play too much. And spoil it for myself.
I gotta say, I'm not a big fan of roguelikes.
I thought you were going to say early access.
No, I like early access. I actually played Hades in early access, and yeah, very, very, very early access when it first came out. I think it was just like one world that was released, or
What, Hades?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was you beat Meg, and then that was it, maybe.
I mean, Hades 2 is basically a complete game. It's just that they're going to add even more to it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, and that's interesting because that's the chat I had with the developer of Kaiserpunk at Gamescom, and I think I mentioned it last podcast. But he was saying that these days, alphas or early access games have to have a lot of stuff. They can't be literal alphas.
Well, an alpha is a test and it's free.
Yeah.
And early access is often paid for. So if you're paying for
Mm.
something, you kind of want a bit of content for it.
And to be honest, that makes sense. Like early access, yeah, you're right. Early access aren't alphas. And like early access is just getting access to the content a bit early. It's not like a test build. But like, yeah, back in the day, early access would be kind of an alpha. Like they don't have the word alpha on Steam. It's early access. And there's some games that have been there. I think they're only allowed to be in early access for 5 years because that's very, very early. And then after 5 years, they have to release. I think Satisfactory did that, or there's one similar. Is it Factorio or Not Satisfactory, sorry. I think it's like Factorio or Rimworld. I think it was one of them that was in early access for like, I think it might have been, what's the first one I said? I've forgotten already.
Factorio.
Yes, I think it was Factorio was in early access for like 5 years. And they're like, okay, I guess we're going to have the full release, even though it's just the same as usual. So yeah, that I think back they could be a bit more bare bones, but like he said, the developer of Kaiserpunk is like, he didn't know whether it's going to come out in a very late stage early access or they're just going to release it as 1.0 next year, because they could do an early access like right now, but it might be missing quite a lot of features that people will then just write the game off, and then when it gets released, they'll be like, no, I played a bit and I didn't get as much from that as I wanted.
It can be good. It can be tricky.
Luckily, Hades has got the name behind it, so even though it is the full game that's coming out pretty much for 2, then
you can afford to do that. I think the same with Baldur's Gate. You know, that had the Baldur's Gate name behind it, so people knew what to expect, even if it wasn't complete at the time. Anyway, continuing on, we now do have one from Riley who says, I jumped back into Sea of Stars. Just a note, if you take off playing it for 6 months or more, you can pick it back up easily and still know the controls and most of the story.
Thank you for mentioning that, because so many games are not like that.
Yeah, just as pretty as I remember it being. Also, they have announced the DLC that's coming, which is coming next year, but it looks super cool.
Plenty of time to play Sea of Stars.
Absolutely. Please go play Sea of Stars. It's incredible. I love it. Glinsky says, more Elden Ring, which I am very, very happy about. Feeling the pain of a non-ranged, non-tanky build on my first ever Souls game, but it's still enjoyable. Those things can be changed. Tweak. Have a little tweak. See how you feel.
I was playing some Elden Ring.
We've played a lot of games in the last couple of weeks,
yeah.
because we're two nerds that have nothing better to do with our lives.
No,
I think that's very clear from this podcast.
And also, I'm somebody that can't stick with a game. Like, literally on Monday, I played about 5 games while you were streaming. Played a bit of Call of Duty, played Thumper, played some Elden Ring, played a little bit of Star Wars, like genuinely a bit of everything. I just couldn't, no game was sticking. Oh, and then finished and played a little bit of Yakuza to finish with.
Nice.
Unlocked jobs after 20 hours of gameplay.
Nice. I need to play that.
It's brilliant.
Also bought Power Wash Simulator for when I want a game that isn't stressful, especially as something to do at the same time as streams I'm interactive with. And thank you for that. Interacting with. As it can be
Did you correct them or did you miss
myself?
Okay.
As it can be paused whenever. Sitting back cleaning things is surprisingly enjoyable, and the sound of the pressure water is calming. I do use a white noise machine set to waves to help get to sleep, so that's not surprising for me. Working my way through the base game, but have the Final Fantasy VII free pack downloaded and waiting. That is very good. I really enjoyed cleaning.
Who was that again? Sorry?
Tifa's bar. Glinsky.
Glinsky, have you ever considered being a pirate? Just the waves and the sound of water seems to make him. Oh, he's a pirate anyway. He's from the West Country, or Devon or somewhere.
Of course.
Right,
Also the usual Dead by Daylight with Dracula Belmont released last week, plus Slay the Spire and a new playthrough of Skyrim, because I seem to be particularly indecisive this week, aren't we all? This one especially.
Downloaded Overwatch now. It's downloaded.
Clasco says, I have kicked off a playthrough of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I already want to turn off Chadley. I'm glad that is your one take from that game. There's a lot to say about it.
Yeah, I didn't mind Chadley.
I liked him and his little AI friend.
Yeah, it was quite a nice little way.
It was basically him in drag.
I can't remember. I need to go back to it, because that's going to be my next. Well, the video, the VODs need to go up of my Let's Play of that.
Right. We now get to the part of the podcast that is going to be the most controversial of all. We have spoken about Concord. We've spoken about Star Wars. We're talking about Black Myth Wukong. All these, controversial takes and controversial things that have happened in games. But we've now got to the real controversy of this podcast. And there are 2 entries here that we're going to talk about.
Yeah. You can go talk a bit loud
The
into your mic.
first is from Moni. The second one.
Just
that
ignore that
I
one.
warned you.
Just ignore it.
I have finished Citizen Sleeper.
She hasn't, though, has she?
She finished it on Sunday.
She
It's
didn't know.
Tuesday now, and I still don't know. Basically, you wake up as a sleeper, which means you're some kind of android that used to be a human previously, but your memory got extracted and stored in this android body while you're cooking somewhere on the way to wherever. The game's main mechanic is playing with dice, where you have to use them to do tasks. And the higher your number is, the higher the chances of things succeeding.
I don't think that's true, is it?
I think it is true.
I thought it was about you needed certain numbers to do certain tasks. So, like, whatever you rolled kind of determined what you did for that day rather than... I don't think you had free reign. I thought it was like if you've got a 2, you can then use it in this situation, whereas a 4 uses in a different one. I need to replay
I think
it.
there's a mixture of both of what you're saying.
Okay.
You're somewhere on a space station and you basically start working your way through the quests like that while trying not to die.
Or maybe it's like a minimum number you need.
Because you are an unstable little android. Ben and Ed have both talked about this game at length and how good it is. We have. We love Citizen Sleeper.
And it's not a controversial take. Was it on OpenCritic?
A very high. And I don't think I agree. Yes, the mechanic is cool in the beginning. The writing is also really good. But I don't know if it's because I start so many stories at the same time and hop between them, but all of a sudden I got to credits, and I was so terribly confused. I think you could really spend a long time philosophizing about what it all means and what it is trying to do, and reconsider the meaning of life or what life means or whatever, and that's really cool overall in theory. But it was incredibly anticlimactic for me in the moment, and I think I expected some build-up that didn't come, and I wasn't in the mood to rethink my life and what it all means.
But didn't she finish it in 2 hours?
Well, yes, Moni messaged us separately and was asking us about it, and I think completed it very quickly. And it took me a good 10 hours to get to credits.
Yeah, like
I wonder what Moni did to race through it.
Did
and what
she
might have been missed.
I played Prey. I loved Prey, but I got what they call a bad ending quite quickly. But there's like a spaceship you can kind of escape. There's a pod you can escape on, and I kind of not glitch my way there, because that's the game. The game is kind of like you mess around with things and you get from one way to another, a bit like in like Tears of the Kingdom or whatever. You can play with things to get to where you want to go, and had a failure. But yeah, I wonder if it was like that, because I didn't realize there was a way, or if in Nier, for example, there's some kind of bad endings. Maybe she got that.
There are multiple endings, and you can get to them at different
Yeah.
stages of the game. For me, that's what I really liked about it, or one of the things I liked, is the different branches and all the different stories that can be told in this one setting.
And you can kind of determine a little bit earlier on what ending you want to go for. So
Well, there are characters that you can be like, I like them and I want to follow that story.
yeah.
You
And
don't
usually-
necessarily know the ending.
But usually those characters will have an ending if you follow them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for that entry, Moni. Games are subjective, and everyone is allowed an opinion on things. There we are. And
I'm glad you're very understanding of her
Well, I'm
opinion.
trying to be understanding. Pigeon Mitch also has played Thank Goodness You're Here. It's so funny and charming with all the dirty jokes hidden everywhere. I needed something fun and happy like this. I just wish it was longer so I could be in that cute world of peens and peens.
Yes, I thought it was the perfect length.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Maybe they need
The peen was a perfect length for you.
they need a Pontifract DLC.
Sure, with Pontefract cakes and Haribo.
Yeah, they'd have to call it something else. Call it its old Latin name, Pomfret.
They should make a joke between Pontefract cakes and urinal cakes,
Yeah.
because they basically taste the same. So,
I mean, I'm not a big licorice fan, and I don't like there's only very specific types of licorice I like, and Pontefract cakes are not one of them. So I'm not going to say that they're like toilet cakes, but
fine.
they're not nice.
Right, we're going to finish up with the most controversial take of the entire podcast,
Mhm.
and it comes courtesy of Helios. which
There's
I
a
feel is targeted at me specifically, and I feel very attacked, as a quote. So you may remember that, I think it was last or the week before, Helios told us about Final Fantasy VIII,
Yeah.
which is one of my favorite games, and how much he disliked Final Fantasy VIII.
Yeah. Well, that should like them set you up so for what you're going to expect.
Well,
like,
Helios
what
is
you
now
expect.
clearly working his way through the series, and so now we have Final Fantasy IX. I finished Final Fantasy IX, and it's such a great game. Okay, good start. Square learned so much from 7 and 8, took full advantage of the hardware, and delivered what might be the best Final Fantasy game at the time. I really enjoyed playing it and would recommend it to a new player or a veteran.
Oh, that's not a controversial take.
However,
Oh.
the game has the misfortune of being judged by me, and just after having played Final Fantasy VIII. And unfortunately, Helios has judged it. Starting off, the setting is bland and unimaginative. Essentially, plain medieval with some magic, but they are able to deliver some nice cities and visuals regardless. Pause for effect. The characters are absolutely hideous. They tried adapting traditional Final Fantasy artwork into 3D, and it's a misfire. It's fine for non-human characters like Vivi and Freya, but humans are atrocious. Not only that, most characters are cartoons. Some of them do develop over the course of the game, especially Vivi, who I finally understand why is one of the most beloved Final Fantasy characters of all time, but the rest are nothing more than the archetype of just knight or thief. The story is serviceable, but just very unengaging and unimaginative. The expected and much needed fuckery of JRPGs only arrives towards the very end, without much hints or foreshadowing of any kind. And lastly, the music, while having the same composer as previous games, is pretty unremarkable. Not one catchy tune in the entire game, not even the battle theme. So why do I still believe it's so good? Because playing it is very fun. Engaging in combat is fun. The system to obtain skills and spells is fun. At times, it seems there is a whole generation between 7 and 9, from the themed dialogue windows to 3D models to equipping armor and weapons. And unlike 7, which got a remake because of its graphics, and 8, which needs a remake for its terrible menus, 9 is perfect as is. It would not benefit a remake in any way. One standout feature is being able to make any spell either one or multi-target, making mages a must in any party composition. So the game is weak in all the places 8 excels, but I think 9 still delivers a much better overall experience, and the game stands the test of time. It's unfortunate the game was released months after the release of PS2 in Japan, which overshadowed it, and exactly a year later Final Fantasy X dropped as well, cementing its fate. Y'all, I finished the game almost 2 weeks ago and still decided to write all this up at the very last minute. Also, Final Fantasy 3DS took the same approach of taking traditional Final Fantasy artwork and adapting them into 3D and did it so much more successfully. Debatable. Now, granted, that was 6 years later in the timeline, but I know of it right now. Finally, I fed this into ChatGPT to catch any mistakes and get critiques, and it suggests not using the terms absolutely hideous and atrocious, but I cannot emphasize enough how much I hated the character design in the game. ChatGPT did not correct some of your grammatical errors, so do not trust AI.
Ed. Well, we can blame ChatGPT
For the opinions.
I'm gonna let you guys. I've not played it. I've played a little bit. I played the start a few times. I mean, there's a song in there that I've got in my head now just by you mentioning that, but that might be because it's also featured in Final Fantasy 14. But yeah, I will let you take the floor.
I won't do that. Like, opinions are subjective, and if you didn't like it,
Well,
that's
just
fine.
give your opinion.
Well, what I will say is I liked all the things yours didn't, which is fine. The thing with 9 is that part of the sort of development of it was a celebration of the series up until that point. And so if you're comparing it back to like 7 and 8, 7 was just iconic and blew up in popularity, and yes, is very dated when you look at the original. It has its charm, but therefore has been remade. 8, then after that, they just went really off-piste and did something really different and really distinct, which is very love or hate. I happen to love it. I like that they went really different. Some people don't like that. That's fine. 9 was then a case of let's look back at the series up until this point and give you a kind of best of the series. And maybe that's where the sort of unoriginality of it comes from. But that's because it is it's a callback to the hallmarks of the rest of the series. So yes, it's got that medieval type setting because it's linking back to the first Final Fantasies. Yes, the characters fit into the job system because that's the point of those characters. And actually, you can do that in every single Final Fantasy game. That there's always a character who's a monk. There's always a character who's a thief or a dragoon. That's just the way they work. I really like the visuals. I think it's a nice alternative or even halfway point between the little sort of Lego figures of 7 and the realistic proportions of 8. And it's giving you something that's sort of somewhere in between that. I really like the characters. I think they're very memorable and very iconic.
I agree that like this, it doesn't necessarily need a remake, whether it will or not, or like a remaster. Just like from what you can play now, although I know they have updated the sprites and a few things, like it still looks good. It's one of those games that will last longer than like 7 to me is just a mess when you try and play it. It's quite hard to kind of, yeah, I find it quite hard to be like, oh, that's Cloud, okay, that little round thing with balls sticking out of its shoulders and that it just doesn't look like a person.
True, I see that. The music of 9 is brilliant. I spoiler, I read this earlier. And then I went and listened to the soundtrack all morning and was like, is it as memorable and iconic as 7 or 8 or 10? No. And 9 has the unfortunate position of being in the middle of all of those. But it's still a brilliant soundtrack. It's giving you sort of old school Final Fantasy themes with this like Baroque orchestration, but also with this like PS1 kind of electro rock kind of vibes of 7 and 8 as well. I really like it. I will say I think overall 9 is very approachable, and for that reason I would say it's a really good one to start with. If people are looking at where do I start in the series, and start with any of them because they're all great and they're all different and it doesn't really matter. But if you want a game that sort of encapsulates the old style of Final Fantasy games, 9, the whole purpose of 9 is that it does that. So it might seem unimaginative, but for me, it is the opposite of that. It is a celebration of the series and all the elements that came before. And so I personally find it very charming and enjoyable.
Great.
And opinions can differ.
Well done, Ed. I'm glad you've taught yourself that.
Or they can be incorrect.
Right. So, is there any news, or are we just going to stop there?
The big news of the week was Concord.
Yeah.
And we've whittled on for far too long, giving our opinions as two annoying white gays. So
that we have.
That's the podcast, everyone.
So, yeah, thank you very much for listening to this bumper episode with no news and with no Dawn Trail, which we will save. It'll be Astrobot and Dawn Trail next week, and maybe anything else that we've played that's just a little bit, maybe Overwatch.
Well, I will say it's fitting, therefore, that we're finished with 9. Because Dawn Trail is full of references to 9.
Yeah, I was thinking like we'd have probably ended up making this podcast about another hour long if we were comparing like 9 and all that stuff. But yeah, I hope also let us know what you think about the view. Do you prefer it like this, where we kind of look like we're on the same camera? Well, we are on the same camera.
Do you enjoy seeing the Wiglet?
Yeah, that is a Wiglet, by the way. It's not Ed leaving his toy out. And yeah, have a wonderful, wonderful week. Ed, where can we find you? Well, actually, what have you got planned over the next week?
Not much. Playing some more games. I'm looking forward to playing some Astrobot, hopefully.
Yes.
And I hear it's quite short. And I hope an easy platinum. So that will be a nice one to just tick off in a week.
We need to play the VR one at some point.
We do. Absolutely.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, where can we find you?
You can find me at ed_nights on Twitch and Twitter and Threads.
Excellent. And you can find me, Biggest Bennis, Twitch, Threads, Biggest Bennis 1 on Twitter. And yeah, go and check out our YouTube channel as well. There'll be a lot more popping up on there. Also, I've started multi-streaming, so Twitch is the home. That's where I kind of read most of the stuff, and that's where most people are. But it'll also be live streamed on YouTube, and potentially one other, because I do get 3 channels I can do it to, but I haven't decided on the third one yet. So because I haven't got a stream key for TikTok, which at some point it might happen. And yeah, so go and look out for me on there. And also the great thing about that is it automatically saves the live stream on YouTube in the live tab. So now I don't need to pay to kind of export the Twitch thing, and then that brings the quality down, yada, yada, yada.
There you go. Top tip for streamers.
There you go. Go and do, restream.io, I think it's called, that I use if you want to try it out. And yeah, keeps it nice and tidy on your page in the live column as well. So you don't lose it, but it's not going to kind of clog up your feed.
Nice.
But yeah, find me there. So swappingjoysticks.com if you want to go and check out all our previous episodes. And yeah.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for putting up with our terrible opinions.
Yeah, 2 hours that was. Bloody hell. Thanks very much for watching.
Bye.
Bye.